Live.
All right, we're live?
Mhm.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to the Cleveland Community Police Commission Rules Committee meeting. It's Wednesday, August 2nd. We're starting at 6:04 p.m. Welcome to everybody that's here and also online. So I will just do a quick roll call. Commissioner Benito,
Present.
Commissioner Donaldson,
Present.
Commissioner Van Leer,
Present.
Commissioner Zayed.
Present.
Okay, so we're great. We have quorum, and there is a brief agenda review. I believe there's something else that we wanted to add to the agenda.
Yes, I would like to add a proposal for a rule change to our attendance policy, which is rule section 1.7.7.1. And I think that's actually chronic absenteeism is the subheading name. And I have emailed out, I apologize for doing it kind of last minute, but I emailed out the proposed change and then I also brought printed copies.
Okay, so would you like to move that in new business as after Mr. Van Leer's meeting minutes proposal? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And
Just
so,
can I be CC'd on those?
Sure, I can, yeah.
okay.
And would you just have the minutes show that I'm here?
Yes,
That
I
the
will.
chair is
Yeah,
here?
sorry, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
That's okay.
Co-chair
Yeah.
Ridgway is also here. She's welcome. Thank you. So we'll just go in order. We have quite a few things to go through. If there's, and we don't have any members of the public, but if they come in, I'll allow for public comment after each item and then a general period. So we have old business to review, and that's 2.x, recipient of citizen or officer incident-based complaints. If you remember during our last meeting, Commissioner Chur had some concerns about it. I've spoken to him and they are slightly outside the scope of this particular rule. He's concerned with retaliation that goes beyond discipline. So we may have to author a new rule to deal with, like, if someone doesn't get directly disciplined, if they get transferred, moved, denied something, it's not directly disciplined. So I had a conversation with him and he understands that it would not be the scope of this rule. So he is fine with going ahead with the rule as is. Were there any other concerns that we had about the rule now in looking at it again?
I believe that was the main, the only thing that we talked about, right?
Right.
In terms of the problems with that, yeah.
So is there any other discussion about that rule? Okay, so do we want to take a vote to move it back into full commission? Okay, great. Commissioner, so would someone like to move that? And then
I did have one question
Okay.
just before, just to make sure. So we were talking about, where was the terminology again?
it's in, I believe, the next to last paragraph under retaliation and whistleblowing. It's at the beginning of the paragraph. It says preponderance of evidence.
It's 2.4.4 in that, it was toward the end, like the second last paragraph of that section. Right?
That paragraph about whistleblowing and.
Oh, okay, got it. All right. Yep, just wanted to make sure I knew where it was exactly. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so any other concerns? No? Okay, so if someone could make a motion.
I move to send the rule back to the full committee for approval.
I second.
Okay, great. Do we need to say the rule's title?
What was the number again?
I don't think it's a number, if you can read the caption for it.
I move to move rule 2.x, receipt of citizen or officer incident-based complaint back to the commission for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So we'll take a vote. Commissioner Benito,
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer,
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So unanimously, it will be moved back into our full commission meeting. Thank you so much. And now we will move on to new business. There is, I just want to have a preliminary discussion. We can do all these three things in whatever order. I'm guessing the attendance policy will be the most involved conversation. So we voted in our last full commission meeting as 533, I believe, that we believe that we are in a conflict of interest with using the city's attorneys on our kind of disposition with regards to our vote on June 14th, which involved the vote 7-5 for Mr. Jason Goodrich to become our ED. So I just want to update you that I've requested to be CC'd on all emails regarding the legal process. Co-chair Rodriguez has said that she has made the request to Mr. Thomas. So I don't have any other updates. I did notice that the city's attorney, like the alternative attorney, right, the attorney that would bridge us and the city, that job posting has been posted already. And they are asking us to make sure that we have sufficient candidates for that. So this is a separate issue because this is I don't know if that's clear from our last meeting, that this is a lawyer arising from what we believe to be a conflict of interest in this situation with regarding the June 14th vote. Okay. So are there any thoughts about this? We eventually, the reason we're talking about this is that we need to write a rule. I'm assuming like a majority, how do we in the future raise the flag about conflicts of interest? So just to begin thinking about it, I think what we had was not the most ideal kind of debate situation, but I'm thinking a simple majority, like all of our other votes, would probably suffice. But I need to know more about what the city's procurement process is to do the rule in the future. So any comments?
I like the idea of creating a formal, like, even if the process could exist without it being formally in our rules, I do like the idea of laying out how we would go about naming that we want to seek outside representation, because we believe that the the advice that we've been given by the a staff attorney that's shared between the by the city and our commission, that we have a problem with the advice and a disagreement, which the law does then give us the opportunity to seek outside counsel. So I like the idea of laying that process out. And I don't think I think it would be hard to really try to parse out all of the different situations in which that could happen, because obviously there's things that we can't imagine yet that would happen. But I think that the idea of laying out, hey, this is how this looks, this is what, the process that started, and this is how it goes through. I think it's a great idea for us to have, so that then we also don't get bogged down in process when we do need to go about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good to have, a general, it shouldn't be too hard to come up with language that, gives us guidance in terms of how we deal with it. I see no problem with that.
Okay, so we'll look forward to that. And I think one thing I've observed is that there might be some differing understanding of what it means to be in conflict of interest in a legal setting. And even a lawyer, in the thing that I read that I realized was very long, there's a process that a lawyer even goes through determining a conflict of interest. So maybe we can get that process first, so to help us lay people be able to make these decisions, because we want to obviously, in a situation like this, expedite the process fast enough such that we can get counsel in those times of need when the conflict arises. So
Do you think we should create a work group of the committee to draft this?
I think it's okay. Why don't we see what the city says about the procurement process? I'm assuming that's a process that's set. I do want to think that we have to be careful right now in how this lawyer is, say you know somebody that's interested or has this expertise. We have to make sure we follow the city's process in procuring this attorney, such that we don't contaminate this process in any way. So we have to find out how, say if we have someone that's interested, how do we even give that name, propose that name? So I need to receive clarification. So if Coach Richard, do you have any insight on this?
No, I just want to make one comment about the posting. It's what's called a rolling posting, so it doesn't have just want to make one comment about the posting. It's what's called a rolling posting. So there's no deadline for when it will close. It would just depend on the number and the quality of candidates that apply. So if there are people who are interested, they just need to go and go to the human resources posting and apply for it. Yeah.
This is to clarify, this is for the full-time?
This is for the part-time attorney that's shared with the law
Right, but
department.
full-time with the,
Yeah.
so I think we're talking about.
You're talking about
conflict of interest, like a lawyer that's probably a subject matter expert on a particular issue that would come in if there's conflict.
Yeah, I think the one thing that probably we need to do, and we have asked for clarification on that from legal. I think one of the things we need to do is to make sure that we can define what a conflict of interest is. I know you've already said that, but we can't assume that it would be a conflict of interest just because it's the law department is handling it. So I think it's a good idea to actually specify what those conflicts of interest, because it's the law department, the city law department that is handling it. And I can see how that could be an assumption, especially considering the issue that these outside attorneys that we are requesting would be looking to challenge something that the mayor, has done. So by the fact that the law department is under, the mayor, I think we can easily assume that it would be a conflict. So I think it is important to specify what those conflicts of interest could possibly be and move it away from an assumption.
Okay.
Yeah, but the other position I want to say is a rolling position. So if you have people who you think are interested in that, but you're right. I think because the city is the one who goes out to get those other attorneys, we do need to know what their process is. Yeah.
Okay.
And I do want to clarify, and again, I'm not saying, I'm obviously not an attorney, but I don't think the conflict of interest itself means that something nefarious has already happened. It's just based, from what I understand, about the risk that is there, that there could be lack of objective advice given to both clients, right? So it's about a balance. So it's maybe a little bit more nuanced, and it is something that you don't have to prove. Like we said, we believe this, and then therefore we can say this is uncomfortable for us and as a commission, and we would like a little bit. So it's not, I think it's, I don't know, to Ms. Benita's point, I don't know if we can map out every scenario. We can map out the relationships and the dynamics, and maybe someone from legal ethics with that background can help us understand that. But like with a lot of things that we're seeing with the law, it's not 100%, it's not like cut and dry. So, Mr. Van Leer?
Yeah, I mean, general agreement. I think it will be helpful to have a conversation with the law department or the law director or somebody else there who can really speak to how it works. Like, because my understanding is they do see themselves as having some walls of separation, and like, so the more we can understand that will help us think about how we frame this issue for when we see the conflict and how we deal with it.
So do we want to propose maybe a meeting with the law department with our committee? Is that, it has to be a few of the committee, and then we can get the ball rolling as to what and then we could still seek, we have many, attorneys that are previous commissioners, we seek their, they all lawyers have to be bound by this code of ethics. So I'm assuming all lawyers understand this concept. It's not like a specialized thing. So
I think it sounds like a good idea. And then, I also don't think, I think we could even, just in the interest of time, maybe in one meeting, not all at the same time during the meeting, but have the law department, and then also maybe ask some folks with a background in legal ethics, or even potentially some folks who maybe have a background also in working in law departments within cities. I don't think it necessarily, I think, and asking a few people to come and, share their perspective with us, and then.
okay.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to setting that up, and in the meantime, we'll get a better idea of the mechanical processes that are involved to make sure. But I would just caution everybody, if you have someone, just to refer them to the listing. We don't have an update as to what the law department is going to do with that lawyer arising from the conflict of interest, the perceived conflict of interest. Not yet. Okay.
But just one other comment, and that is that we have asked the law department have asked Art Griffin to come to a meeting already. He has already agreed to come to a meeting, not necessarily with this committee, so we may need to, restructure that ask, but he has agreed to come to a meeting when we thought we were going to be doing the special meeting to address that. That was one of the issues that he was going to be addressing anyway, and he just said all we need to do was give him a time, date, and a place, and he would be there. So I'm pretty sure that ask could be restructured for this committee.
Okay, and that's one of the things we want, because if there is, obviously when we signal that there is a potential conflict, we want to get legal counsel as soon as possible. So we need to work out with the city how quickly they can procure us that attorney. We probably could have a few on standby in subject matters, but it's about the kind of the contract, like the work contract they make with that person, I guess. Okay. All right, so that's just something for the future. I just wanted to, that is in 1.2, so we can just expand upon that. But it is based on that we do have the right to ask the city, in this case, to pay for those services. So I know that there was a little bit of confusion with that. All right, so if we're satisfied with that, if we can move on to the potential rule or framework for the meeting minutes. And Mr. Van Leer, if you can provide some context for our listeners as to why you are proposing this and why we're looking at this right now.
Sure, yeah, so thank you. Chair Wong. So it seems that every meeting we have, there's some issue with the minutes, and we have a hard time approving the minutes. And I think part of it is just a lack of understanding or a lack of agreement on how minutes work and what they're supposed to include. So I did some research. I mean, I've been on boards before and I've done minutes, and they've always been very high level, not a lot of detail about who said what. And so I looked around and found pretty much the same kind of guidance for nonprofits. And so I put that in an email to you all. And let me, now I have to find that, right? So let me do that. But I also created a template. Let's see, who did I send it to? I sent it to you all on Tuesday. Sent it on Tuesday. All right, so apologies for the slight delay here. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, so the criteria I thought would be good to list in the rules, based on my research, would be minutes of a general meeting. It could go in, like I put it potentially at 1.7.2, which is right after section 1.7.1, which is the general meetings. So my proposed language is minutes of general meetings shall use an approved template, which is also in that. We can talk about that. Record motions, decisions, and votes as they occur. Write clear, brief notes in bullets or brief phrases rather than full sentences or verbatim wording. Summarize conversations at a high level so people can quickly understand what happened. Not record specifics of who said what, rather summarize the conversation in a sentence or two. That's kind of redundant, I guess, but just clarifying. And then corrections that do not substantially change the content or meaning of the minutes can be made after approval. So those were the general things that I thought rose to the level of wanting to include them. And the template that I drafted, again, this is all draft language, basically is something of a checklist. It shows clearly, the things that the minutes would say, and it's even got bullet points for everything from any special presentations that happen to the co-chair director's reports and the committee reports and new and old business and public comment. So that's, I suppose I could have printed that out, but you all have it. So yeah, Jan, you don't have it. So.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But we had talked about it.
Yeah.
But two comments that I would like to add for consideration. One would be, and this is to to the co-chair and to the rest of the committee members. There are two other things that I would say should be added. One, where we may not be listing names for discussion, we should definitely list who makes a motion and who seconds it. Those names should be recorded in the minutes, and there should be an action note for every item. Either it will be, it will come under old business next time, or this was the decision that came out of it. So that makes the minutes more action oriented than word for word. of what's going on in the meeting itself.
That makes sense.
Ryan, yeah, I was just gonna ask you, Ryan,
Yeah.
or,
So, I was tasked with doing minutes because we're short-staffed and there's somebody had to physically do them. And I'll confess this, I've never taken minutes before
Right.
with anything. And so the first few meetings, I was just writing down everything because I kind of just, I didn't know what was gonna be important. And those ended up being pretty jumbled but it was kind of like, I don't know what people actually want to have in
Right.
minutes. So I sent those, and I think there was a mistaken belief that when I started, after I talked with Pete about having much more concise minutes, was just like, some people didn't like that suddenly the minutes weren't detailed anymore. Like, hey, I wanted to make a point that I wanted to have in posterity, but I'm like, that's, not really what minutes are
Right.
for. I will say, I wasn't on the
Sure,
email,
yeah.
but I was going to be,
That's the template.
yeah. Well, what I was going to say was the, if just, there is public comment. That's what I was going to say. That was because that was the whole one of the ideas that we even took more detailed minutes in the past, was because we wanted to preserve public comments, because we go back and use those. We look, what did people say at our meeting?
Right.
Because we're curious what people talk about. And that was a useful point of sort of research node that we kind of would go back to and say, hey, what were people saying? And so
Right.
that's why we included that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, thank you, Ryan. And then I apologize for not sharing it more broadly with you, but I think that is sort of what happened. Is like, people got the idea that minutes would have more detail, and I think that's it, as evidenced by our difficulty in approving the minutes. I think when you get into the detailed stuff, then it's more likely that somebody will say, well,
That's
to
not
really like, that's not exactly what they said or whatever. So I feel like, and just looking at common practice, like the links, one of the links I shared at least, that's pretty much standard, is to keep it very high level. And if people really want to get into the detail, they can watch the video.
Commissioner Benito?
One general comment is I really liked this template. I think it's really nice, and I think Ryan, I just wanted to say thank you for jumping in. We like to have a lot of lively discussions on our commission, and so we know that it has been probably challenging to figure out exactly the right way to take minutes, and it really is an art also, I think, taking minutes. And so to thank you for jumping in and doing it. I think that one of the points that Ryan kind of highlights is what's nice about having a template is that whether it's somebody who has done it a lot, or somebody's filling in for somebody, or we have a change in staff and a new person is doing it, I think this will make sure that there's more uniformity to the minutes, which I think is good. I think one thing that I was a little unsure of is, would our idea be that because it says like a concise high-level summary covering the main points and general nature of discussion, are you imagining that's broken up like this person says this and this person says that, or is it like, here are the general points that were made, and then does it say who's making what point, or is it like, here's a general discussion, and then if you want to know who said what, you would go back and watch the video?
The standard practice that I found that I've always actually used, because I've done minutes myself, is not to say who said what, not to say, it's more just like summary discussion as brief as possible. Like they talked about, the new rule we're looking at, like the rules for this would say they discussed, the commissioners discussed the review of 2.x receipt of and decided this, and there was a vote there. So it would say, and I think you made a good point. I think we should include that. Motion, you made a motion, I second the motion, and there's a vote.
Okay.
And then, action item. So, and there was an action item that came out of that, right? So I think that's also a good point.
So I did have like a small concern with that. I understand it's just going to be impossible to satisfy everybody's perception of whether something was actually encapsulated. My concern is if there is an active debate, and it can be shown by the votes, how do we make sure, because it's also public facing, right? That we want the public to know that there is we have consideration over all these points, and we're able to see multiple facets of the argument. I think that's important. Maybe one thing I would suggest, regardless, could we put timestamps near where things happen? So if somebody wants to go back, they don't have to scroll through and, rely on Google,
And I think they also, though, on the videos.
Yeah, they have some, yeah.
They had that, so maybe we could ask that the timestamps on the video, it might be easier to add that to the video than
Right.
to the document, so then on making sure that the headings on the minutes match the timestamps on the video.
How are is some type of artificial intelligence?
It's artificial intelligence. It's AI generated.
Just kidding.
So if we,
That might be done
I
with
don't
the
think, I don't think we have the level of subscription where you can actually add stuff.
It would have to be I'm sorry.
No.
right, so
I don't know, you'd have to ask
I mean,
Sarah
it wouldn't
about
be for everything, but like, here's where the discussion
Yeah.
starts, here's when the vote was,
Yeah.
or like, whatever, just the main topics of what we talked about according to the agenda. It might help a person, because it's really hard to,
Find exactly.
but is it gonna be the same timestamp on like this rather than a computer?
So here's the thing. Because I'm not taking the minutes from this are quite light, which is what I also was going to ask a question about, because I've sent there was a bit of a backlog with meeting minutes for commit for. There was a bit of a backlog with meeting minutes for committees, and I sent a bunch of those out, and I don't know what people wanted to do with them. I assumed that people thought they were okay because no one said anything, but no one. I didn't know if there was a process to vote on them or anything either. So there's other backlogs coming out. Those are pretty much just like what as has been described with this, but with this without any formal format. In terms of a timestamp, yeah, you could put it on the paper, like the top line stuff. Like, this is where we started talking about this issue here, and then just have that for like the sections. But yeah, I don't know if ours, and I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I don't know if we have a level of YouTube subscription level where we're able to actually change it. Otherwise, it just has the AI generated one. I don't know that. I know that you have to reach a certain level to do that. I don't think we're there yet.
Okay, but we could at least provide it, and if it's different on the phone, I know sometimes the timestamp changes for whatever reason. Let's just say that it's based on the YouTube video that's online. So do you want to add that somewhere?
So what is the language we're saying? So we'd say that timestamps will be added to the minutes based on the video? Is that
Based on
essentially
the
it?
video, yeah, to make it
Sure.
easier for people to find, because I think that's the point, is that I think we should say there was, maybe if there was, like, it was, I guess you can tell by the votes, maybe, that there, but we don't want to assume, was there an active debate and dissent on it? Was it more uniform, the agreement, the consensus? I just think that, yeah, I mean, it is hard. And I have to say, Ryan, my own, like, it's not that we're not reading your minutes, but I feel like when we read it, we assume it's okay, and then we read it, and they're like, oh, no, I because we get into the nitty gritty. So I think the standard that Mr. Van Leer has given will give us, I think, that belief that everything is okay. And Mr. Van Leer, have you made sure this conforms with whatever legal kind of state law needs we have?
I have not investigated that, but I cannot imagine. I mean,
Okay.
based on my knowledge of how public bodies work, this is totally legit.
The city has actually said it. Technically, us posting videos is posting our minutes.
Right.
So we're clear. We're not. This is going above and beyond what the law act. At least that's what city council or somebody from the city told us.
Great.
So I don't remember who that was. So I don't. But yeah.
That makes sense.
I think the standard we should aim for is that these minutes, if inspire the person, that they can help find information about decisions we've made, and if they need more information, it directs them in a fast and expedient manner to the video. So, which will be the full record. Is that
Just a quick question. The videos they go up the same night, right? So I'm just wondering time wise, like how long would it take for us to make sure that the timestamp in the video is put into the minutes, and like how would that work?
He does the minutes afterwards. Yeah. So I think they're live streamed, and then they probably become a permanent.
They don't get posted until we vote on them, right?
Yeah, and
The
I'm
minutes-
talking about
the
the
minutes,
video
the minutes.
itself,
Oh,
like
I think it's posted when it's done.
Okay.
Right.
yes, to the chair and the committee. It's posted when it's done, but that if you hit that more and you see where the time is, that's not done right away. You don't see that right away.
Yeah,
It
that's why I
may be
asked.
a day or so before you see that piece on it, but the minutes will, the the video is posted, you can go right back that same night and rewatch the entire video.
So we would have to wait on the timestamp to be there before
Yeah.
we can add that into the minute itself. Or okay.
But I don't think I don't think
It's
there'd
not
be a
taking live
worry.
minutes, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a worry about it because they won't be posted until they're voted on, which isn't until the next meeting anyway.
Okay.
So would you like me to read what I've written with the
Yes.
revisions? Okay, so 1.7.2, general meeting minutes. Minutes of the general meeting shall use the approved template, record motions, decisions, and votes as they occur, including the names of commissioners who make motions, seconds, and how each commissioner votes. I need to fine tune that last bit. But that last, including the names of commissioners who make motions and seconds, and showing the votes. Note items flagged for action by commissioners and staff. Include timestamps for discussions taken from the video recordings of the meetings, and then the rest is the same, right? Clear brief notes and bullets or brief phrases rather than full sentences or verbatim wording. Removing the brief repetition of brief from that. Summarize conversations at a high level so people can quickly understand what happened. Not record specifics of who said what, rather summarize the conversation in a sentence or two, including and you can help me here, like I didn't put this in yet, but to address your point of the nature of discussion in terms of was there disagreement. So including
The diversity of opinion.
diversity of opinion. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. And then finally, corrections that do not substantively change the content or meaning of the minutes can be made after approval. So that sounds good.
Okay. So do you want to fine tune that because Ms. Benicio took a quick break, pit stop? Do you want to fine tune that last part of the sentence?
So yeah, what I've written now is shall not record specifics of who said what, but rather summarize the conversation in a sentence or two, including diversity of opinion expressed.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah. And that other part about the votes, there was one part.
Oh yeah. Let me hold on a sec. Give me a minute. So, there's commissioners who make motions for seconds. Maybe I'll make that a separate bullet point. Record how each commissioner votes. Is that clear enough?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is use the approved template, then record motions, decisions, and votes as they occur, including the names of commissioners who make motions and seconds. The next one is shall record how each commissioner votes, which we already do, but it's good to have it in there.
Okay. Do we have any other comments? Does I add nothing? Okay. All right. Do we want to wait until Commissioner Benicio comes back? Ryan, is there anything else that we have not seen that can help you or somebody else? And this template, does this mean that this template can change? Right? Do we have to approve the template? Should we write, it has to be the approved template?
Well, I haven't, used the approved template, but we can adjust that. I mean,
Does the template need to be voted upon? Like, do we?
I would think so, yeah. Yeah, unless we decide that the template is, it'd be nice to have a set template, but I also, if we need to change it, we can change it.
I think. Go ahead.
It would be nice to be able to change some things
Yeah.
without having to go through.
Right.
Maybe there should be some language that, what if there is like you said, a lot of debate or some type of.
Can you put in the
public
template
comment
that there's
needs to
some,
be-
latitude? And then, I know it's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah. So what do you mean latitude? Like use the approved template?
Are there exigent circumstances that it doesn't have to be, I mean, is there enough latitude, I think, in the
I think-
template? Probably.
Are you looking at it? Have you-
I don't have.
Oh,
I think
sorry.
I think it's still open, even what concise high-level summary covering main points and general nature of discussion. I think that still offers a fair amount of latitude. Like, I don't think it stops anybody from saying a summary covering the main points. Like that can really, I don't think it necessitates that it's a bullet point about what everyone said, but I don't think it necessarily stops someone from saying these were the general points that were made.
To the chair, is there some way that this could just be prefaced, that this would be, I don't want to want to say a pilot or test case, but that we can use it for a couple of months and see how it works. And then we can come back and see whether it needs to be changed. I know we put something like that in the
Receiving
rules
feedback.
with something else. Yeah, so we can get feedback, and it may necessitate some, some tweaking.
I don't think we should write that into the rule. I think that just like we already passed this rule and then are coming back to change it with the template, I mean, all it takes for us to revise the rule is to bring it to the
Okay.
rules committee. And so I think that we'll be reviewing the rules every year. So I think that if it's not working, I think we can just tweak it again. Because if it is working, we don't want to
Yeah.
have the rule tell us that we have to
Yeah.
review it again.
Or to make it very easy for it to be changed too, right? Mr. Johnson?
No, I was just gonna add that I do think it's important for the template to include, kind of the action bullet, like,
Okay, that's
like what Richard was saying, under each section or at the end, or just so when the minutes are being taken that, we know that that'll be there.
Mr. Benito?
Actually, I'm not sure if this is as relevant. Never mind. But this is a kind of an aside. I was thinking it would be really nice on our agendas for the full commission meeting to have all the upcoming committee meetings at the bottom of the agenda. Because that way then people who come to the meetings, I've heard that a few times. I got my agendas and my minutes mixed up, but.
Yeah, to the chair and the committee members, we talked about that in leadership. What the ED has said is he's still waiting. He doesn't have all of that, because that's what we wanted to do anyway, to put him on each agenda.
Cool.
But he said he still had not heard from all the committees yet as to their permanent date and
Yeah, they
time.
haven't really-
Yeah, and as soon as he gets all of that, it will be added to the agenda.
But couldn't we just do the ones that are scheduled already? Like, do we have to wait for
Well,
all
like
of
the
them?
one that we had, we moved. So I think the chair should get together of all the committees and figure out these dates, because it seems like it's hard. We might have to do it like for months in advance, and then this period we still can swap a little bit just
Yeah.
until we get.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
I did have one concern. Is it possible that, because I really, when I attended that, it was the Privacy Commission meeting in Oakland, eventually we're going to be talking about very discrete topics, I think, and not just, there could be actual cases or topics or incidents. So they gave the opportunity just for 1 minute each per person between items for public comment. I just feel like putting it at the end, it doesn't allow us to kind of get the feedback from the public. So I don't know if that cements us only to public comment at the end.
I don't, because of the template.
yeah.
I mean,
You can have public comment interspersed. The comments will just be listed as
Yeah,
in the
you
order.
can move it around.
that they were
Okay,
in,
so
yeah.
if it doesn't like tie us to a particular agenda,
Yeah.
that'd be fine.
And just because of that too, it's nice to have a couple comments in one big section, because those are the things we go back and actually mine
Oh,
for
I see.
information.
You just
So
put it
now
at
having
the
them
bottom.
in one
Yeah.
that we don't have to clip and
Yeah.
moving around would actually be good.
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes sense.
All right, this is on. Okay.
okay.
So I think we've hopefully discussed this pretty holistically, and we just have to probably jump in and see how this goes. Thank you, Commissioner Van Leer, for putting this together,
Thank you.
and giving us a shot at being better at the minutes. I think the public will appreciate it. So if we're ready to vote, someone can make a motion.
I'll move to adopt the rule,
1.7.2.
the amended 1.7.2, which adds the framework for meeting minutes. I don't know if I need to read the,
Right, what would you like to title this?
yeah. What is the title of the section?
Criteria and template for general minutes of general meetings?
Why don't you make the motion?
Okay, I'll make
Sorry
the motion.
about that. Sorry.
All right, that's fine. I move to, that the committee approve the new section 1.7.2 on general meeting minutes, which includes criteria and a template for minutes of general commission meetings.
I'll second.
So this would not be for the committee meetings?
Oh,
I mean, there's a lot on there that's not relevant. I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
Do we want to amend yours and say this could be used as a general framework for
Sure.
the committee meetings?
A suggestion instead of
Suggested,
shall.
or are you just gonna do it? Is it,
I'm just gonna do it anyway, just because I have it wouldn't be, I take out the stuff that wasn't relevant to a committee meeting.
Okay,
I was just gonna use that anyway, because it's,
We could say then I would make a motion to approve section 1.7.2 on meeting minutes, which spell out the criteria and include the template for minutes of meetings of the commission.
okay, all right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great, so we take a vote. Commissioner Benito,
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer,
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed,
Aye.
and I vote aye, so it passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Make sure when you finalize the wording to send it to Jason so he can send out a PDF, but all of us,
Since
yeah.
I'll be-
And with the template. Okay,
Right.
great.
And I think we could start using this now, right? Like the world doesn't have to like.
Yeah.
'Cause- yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
the July minutes are gonna get,
Okay.
I think the value of having the commission vote on it is that people see it
Oh,
and
yeah.
understand it and like, okay, this is how it's gonna be, so I think that's the value of that.
Thank you again, Mr. Van Leer, for researching that and putting that together. And, okay, so we will now move on to, it says enforcement attendance policy, but a general attendance policy discussion and a potential suggestion for improvement. Could you provide the basis for this and what the rationale and the impetus for this was?
Yes, absolutely. So, first I will go through the changes that I proposed, and then I can talk about the basis and rationale. So I have proposed 3 changes to Rule 1.7.7.1, and those are changing chronic absenteeism related to full commission meetings to regularly scheduled full commission meetings, just because I think that with the basis of special meetings could be scheduled with very little notice. I think it would be difficult to then count that attendance against that for people. Or another example might be like we had the police training meeting that we had here where commissioners were given an option to attend if they were available, or they could come in and watch the recording. So technically it was a full commission meeting, but it was, it just makes it more clear that it's for our regularly scheduled full commission meetings. The second is under the bullet point, any commissioner who has 3 absences in a row. That is replacing 3 unnotified absences or 3 notified absences. Just because I think if you're missing 3 in a row, you should probably be using the leave of absence, and 3 in a row is a lot, to be missing. That's like a quarter of the thing. So if you're missing 3 in a row, I think that it's kind of a concern. And then also, how are you then able to engage in the work that's happening? So I think that was just under here, it said 3 notified absences, which means that you could be letting someone know with very little notice. It would just have to be more than 72 hours. So I thought that makes sense. And then I added here, commissioners taking an approved leave of absence are excluded. So obviously, if you're choosing to use the 3-month leave of absence that we created in the rules, then this doesn't apply to you. But I just wanted to make that clear. And then the third change that I propose is any commissioner who misses 1/4 of the total number of full CPC meetings in a 12-month period. So I proposed a change from 6 months to 12-month period. And then that kind of takes me to my rationale for the main reason why I wanted to amend the rule was to address the 6-month period to 12-month period. The other stuff is, as I was going through it, I thought that these might be good changes. But the reason why is 25% or 1/4. If we have one meeting, full commission meeting a month, that comes out to like 1.5 or 1.5 meeting. And so that means that anytime you miss any more than one, you are, as the rule says, we are immediately, initiating the process to call for a removal. And I could imagine situations where in a 6-month period, if let's say I take a planned vacation where I know, my kids are on spring break this week, so I maybe don't have a lot of flexibility, I need to go on this vacation, and then another, time in that 6 months, I have an emergency or I get really sick, then I'm not sure that we want that to be a standard for then sending a call for removal to the mayor and then having to hold a public hearing. That just seems pretty intense for me, when I could see a situation where you might, by, accident, hopefully this doesn't happen very often, but by accident you end up with 2. And so because of just the challenges with that number, I thought that changing it to a 12-month period would be more reasonable. Then there's more time to, if you do miss, 2, or if you do miss 3, then okay, I can't miss any more, and so my attendance needs to be perfect. So I don't think that this doesn't change the ratio of what you have to make. It just gives you more time to address that. And I think also because we are changing that ratio, that's why I also wanted to change it so that 3 absences in a row, whether they were notified or not, would still potentially trigger that. So, because basically over a 12-month period, if there's 1 meeting a month, that would, if you miss any more than 3, but those 3 should not be in a row, because that does seem like an issue in terms of, are you actually engaging and staying on top of it. So that was my rationale. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't triggering a process for removal for situations that could happen, and that the number worked out a little more evenly.
I will, I think, the changes that you made are good. Reading it, I just want to make sure this is about clarity at this point. There's so many scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Is it clear what we're doing? Do we need, I think there's some, this sentence is confusing reading again. It's not your fault, it was in there to begin with.
Yeah.
Chronic absentees related to regular scheduled full commission meetings includes. I think includes is just, it's like, we should say, when this list of criteria is met, it will trigger this process. If we can, and we don't have to, pass this rule, we can refine it a little bit, but I appreciate beginning the conversation, because there's other rules, right? There's a 60-day non-participation rule.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, to summarize what Ms. Benito has said, we are giving 3 apps, 1/4, right? So that's the biggest criteria. 1/4. You cannot miss more than 1/4 in a 12-month period. Obviously, it's an awkward number when it's 6. So that is, do we want to be in a 12-month period, or do you want to be the year? So the person can, because I can imagine. So say you missed, you didn't miss 3. So you missed January, February, you were there in March, but you were going to miss in April. That would, in my understanding, trigger the process, because there's no other way to overcome that barrier.
Oh, you're talking about
in the future.
the review, at
The
what
review.
point it's triggering?
It's the point of no return, right? Mathematically.
And I think
right?
and also because it's regularly scheduled,
Mhm.
then it doesn't really matter when it happens,
it's
because
scheduled,
it's regularly scheduled. If a special one comes up, that doesn't change the ratio. So
Because in a 12-month period, it's confused. Maybe if it's just moving all the time. So A suggests it's moving. Do you want in
Right,
the
but
calendar year?
but if it's always, I'm trying to think. Oh,
Because it's always moving, then they can still actually keep missing meetings, right? So it has to be a fixed time, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
you can keep,
I mean, should we? Because our term started in January, right?
Right.
Or at the very end of December. So should we just say from
calendar.
January to January, calendar year?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll make those changes. And
Choose
1/4 is clear.
12-month period.
This, maybe we should say this
in a
meet-
calendar year.
in a calendar year.
Yeah.
This equals 3 total meetings in a calendar year, of what, right? Or we don't know. I
We
guess
don't know, because if we have
'cause we
two
don't have,
two regularly scheduled, a special meeting won't count, but we could have 2 regularly scheduled meetings in a month.
do we, Co-Chair Ridgway, we anticipate having just monthly meetings from now on? What are the scenarios that we would have a double regular schedule?
Yes, to the chair and the committee members as well. We have had this discussion, in leadership as well. And I think the what was problematic was that, and the ED said this, he addressed this, and said that when the existing rule was written and approved, we were supposed to be having only one meeting a month. So that's why he said we couldn't apply, some of the issues that we were dealing with one of the other commissioners to that rule. When it came to the table, to say I'm not going to be here, during the summer, he said, well, there's no need to worry about that because it's only one meeting a month. But we have only had, one month? We had one meeting a month.
Yeah.
We've had, in April, we did 3 meetings.
Yeah.
So what he was saying is that rule before only applied to one meeting a month, and that's why we needed to go back and clean the rule up, just to make sure. I'm just stating what he said. Yeah.
I don't mean to sound like, oppositional. That's not exactly what he said to us. So I think it's good to let Mr. Goodrick speak for himself.
Yeah,
on
because
this.
when we talked about it yesterday, we talked about it in 2 successive leadership meetings, and that was the one issue. I know that he said yesterday, this is one of the rules that we need to go back and clean up. And I don't know whether you just brought this up on your own or whether you had a conversation about it.
We foresaw the weird decimal.
Yeah.
But Mr. Goodrick did, and I'm relaying, the consecutive absence is a problem because you're missing so much of the work that's being done, right? It's not like you're missing a whole block of work, which is different. And so if we can clean this up a little bit more, keep refining it, I would also, if we can find some way to simplify all the rules and they're together, I think they're just in 3 different places. And if we can make an appeal for why we're having these rules, I think they're pretty fair rules. I think there's a lot of latitude, but I want people like a more usable version of the rule, because regardless of these absences, excused or not, are still absences. The only way to not have those absences counted, maybe we need to write that into this 1/4 thing, is to take a leave of absence, which you are allowed under this rule, and everybody gets one first time. Mr. Syed?
What are the conditions to be approved for a leave of absence, and how far is there, like, you have to ask a certain amount of time in advance or anything like that?
Well, you do, right, you do need to, my memory is you do need to ask for it in advance. It's not like retroactively you can ask for. And everybody gets automatically 1 to 3 months, every commissioner, once per their term, no questions asked, as long as there's enough to fulfill quorum. So that's why we need the advance.
And only 1 person at a time is what it says.
Is it 1 person at a time? So that could be two could be. So as long as it's maintaining the quorum, and I'm sure there are, we haven't said anything about emergencies, but that's guaranteed. And the second one you just request again, I do think that rule needs to be changed. That it needs to be, everything needs to be requested in writing. It's not clear in the first 1 to 3 months that it needs to be in writing. And we should say the people that should be, I would personally.
It says,
It just says.
additional one
right,
is requested
additional one.
in writing. Yeah, okay.
And I would, just as a best practice, maybe we should put in there that you should tell the people that make sense, the co-chairs, Jason, and your committee chairs, right? So we just want to know if it's about maintaining quorum, maintaining connection with our work. I just don't want it to be so complicated that people, and I'm hoping, honestly, we're going through some growing pains right now. Once we get through those things, the work will become very exciting and, would encourage people to participate. So I'm not sure exactly everyone's reasons, but I think life also happens. So Commissioner Benito points out a good thing is that you could just have an emergency. I think we need to look through all of these rules probably pretty well, because the emergencies, I don't think they were unclear as to the numbers, but I think we could better refine them since we're taking the time. So maybe that's an assignment that we all just look at all the rules for attendance and find any suggestions that are rereading it.
I think another thing that it would be good to do is for us to create like a memo that just very clearly
Tell
is
us,
a
yeah.
summary
Yeah.
of all of this
Like a
because,
GPO that Mr. Van Leer can write for
yeah,
us.
I think he would be excellent at that. I
Define
would love to
definitions.
volunteer Commissioner Van
purpose.
Leer for that. But I think because, even us going through being like, where is that in the rule? I think it just can be, especially when the rules regarding absences are in like 4 different sections of the, of that policy. I think it could be easy for it to be confused. And so if we have a memo that's very clearly like, hey, here's the rules on being tardy, here are the rules on absences, here's the process you need to follow, I think that could make it a lot easier for commissioners to follow.
Jonathan?
Yeah, the other thing I was gonna add was I cannot remember when we were putting this together, what we said about committee meetings, like.
That wasn't included.
Okay,
They're
I
not
didn't think
included.
That's
so.
another
Okay.
issue, because, the other issue with the committee meetings is that, the city charter allows people to call in, right?
Yes.
But if that person is the deciding vote, could state law overrule, like if it comes down to some type of legal situation, we want people present. So we just have to work through these issues. I do want to say, I understand it was complicated. I don't want to give the impression that it wasn't clear enough to be understood. So I want to be clear that we are not saying that these rules are going to be retroactively enforced differently. That we're just going forward. So we do have an issue, with the commissioner. We hope that we can find a solution for that. And it's only for fairness because we are here as public servants and have a stipend, and we want everyone to be present. So
No, I don't think that they could be
I
used
think that was
retroactively
proposed.
because if we were to pass this today, it would go to the full commission meeting at the end of August, and then it would not be into effect for 15 days after that. So whatever is happening on that, when this wouldn't really apply to it.
No, I understand, but I think there are people that believe we can just make a rule and make it retroactive. I don't think I really caution against that because we cannot do that with precedent, especially when we're judging police officers on their attendance and their tardiness. I hope that we can just, we have growing pains, but now that we have monthly scheduled meetings, I know people have families and vacations, but hopefully we can plan around those things.
I kind of see these as 2 separate issues around what we do about any previous
Yeah, okay, great.
enforcement.
I just wanted to make that
this
clear.
real change.
Yeah.
But but I will be clear that I do think that, of course, I think that it's honest that, like, some of the situation is making us go back and reread the rule and be like, is this clear? Does this make sense? Does a threshold of 1.5 meetings in a 6-month period make sense? Like, I think that is part of also what we're doing with police policy is when people are breaking a rule and we're looking at the discipline that's meted out. One of the things that we do as a commission is go back and say, is the GPO clear? Is the GPO addressing what it
Right,
needs to
but
address?
again, I think it was clear.
No, I'm just saying
Right.
that this is a normal process that
And we can't,
that is applicable to even how we are looking at police accountability. Is if you look at a situation and say, is it an issue with the person? Is it an issue with understanding? Is it an issue with procedure? Is it an issue with the rule itself? And I'm not commenting on what it is, but
I just don't want the differences of opinion about the apparent clarity to be used we have to enforce, just like with the matrix, what was in place at that time. Let's find a solution for that issue because I think we want people to be included. But I'm just concerned really primarily, this has nothing to do with that commissioner, with the precedent it will set. I think it opens if we cannot properly, consistently enforce ourselves, I think it calls into a little bit of question about our legitimacy with the community and the police.
I hear you. I just think it's a different discussion.
Okay, thank you. So we will we've decided we'll all put our heads together and try to make this as clear, simple, and but comprehensive as possible. And we'll come back. Are there any thoughts, Mr. Miller?
Nope.
Okay.
Another question, something
Oh.
unrelated.
Okay, so can we move on from this and we'll just work on this? I'm happy to have another meeting as soon as I will not be here next week, but Co-Chair Ridgway?
Yes, to the chair and the other committee members, would you mind revamping that based on what came out of this meeting today and making sure that the chairs We have a copy of this as well, because it has come to the table in leadership at least twice.
Yeah, we haven't passed it yet.
I know, but just so
Sure.
we know, in case we also want to give additional comment before it does that.
Okay. Well, we'll give it to everybody,
Yeah.
because for
Yeah.
additional
Yeah.
comment, because
Have
I
no
think this is
problem
something
with
that.
that everybody cares about.
And so
Very
I
deeply.
just want to then also be clear on that we talked about changing from a 12-month period to a calendar year. Were there any other?
I think we need to make this very clear that these are the criteria that triggers this process, the
So
sentence
I'll
above.
change that from
Yeah.
chronic absentee.
We need to think about, do we need to add this for committee meetings? What do we do about committee meetings?
Chronic absentee. I think honestly, this sentence, the chronic absenteeism related to regularly scheduled full commission meetings, I think we'll change the chronic absentee and then go into the section where it says what will happen, putting that first. So it says, sorry.
I see another hole in this is that it doesn't really leave that much for an emergency, because it says 72 hours to unnotified.
So I think what I would change it to, sorry, is meeting any of the following criteria will trigger.
Right.
So I guess one question,
Yeah, so you
Why-
want to put this sentence up there and then,
right, but I guess one question is the co-chairs will trigger the co-chairs to initiate the policy. Is that because the call for removal must be initiated by a co-chair, by a chair?
That's in section 155,
Yeah.
right?
But does it say the chair?
I believe
I
so,
thought it
yeah.
was just any commissioner could.
well, so how do we,
Yeah, let's check 115.
check
But
what,
basically, yeah, I'll move that sentence to the top. That says that any of these.
maybe automatically trigger, is that more clear? Well, they have.
Because I think this insinuates that the co-chairs take an action rather than and that it just automatically does it. But Pete's checking the
Will automatically trigger, I guess, would.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well,
We just want them to do it, that there should not be a commission vote on it. you know,
Right.
Because in the outline, in the process, there will be a public hearing for it after. But we are also, I think Commissioner Zayed is correct that we're missing some emergency measures in this. Because 72 hours is, right, 3 days.
Right.
So,
In order for it to be, I think that's technically a different section of what counts as a unnotified, because this is chronic absenteeism. So this is
But
in
it's only
the section
two.
1.7.7.0.
So
maybe the 72 hours is the issue. So,
to your question earlier, it's not in section 115.5, it's in our rules, 1.7.7.1, chronic absenteeism. It says the official attendance record will be kept with the minutes of each meeting. Chronic absenteeism will trigger the co-chairs to initiate the removal process outlined in Charter 115.5 under the charge of gross neglect of duty. And in 115.5, it gives that responsibility to the mayor. So it says they will initiate that removal process, and then
so trigger the mayor to do
the
that.
mayor may remove any commission member for malfeasance, misfeasance, nonfeasance, or gross neglect of duty. So the
So-
chairs would trigger that process to the mayor, who would then.
So I guess the question is, why are we having the chairs, if that's not laid out in section 115, why are we asking if it's automatic, why would we ask the chairs to do
Well,
it?
someone has to do it. Someone has to write a letter to him.
Yeah.
How about, does this committee do it then?
No, I think that we can just say that it will trigger this, the co-chairs must write the letter, or something like that, so it's,
So it's more clear what they are doing
right.
by
'Cause I think
writing a letter to the mayor.
By, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
blah,
by
blah,
writing a
blah.
letter to them.
I think it should be with the co-chairs, just because
Okay, yeah, that's
their
fine,
role, but maybe it says what they're supposed to do.
yeah.
But what it's saying is that this process automatically says
Triggers.
the gross neglect of duty is
Mhm.
already presumed when you've met any of these criteria.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
Okay.
I will move that sentence up to the top. I will clarify that it says automatically triggers. And the co-chairs will submit a letter to the mayor notifying
mhm.
them.
to start, does it say that the mayor can reject the
Yeah.
process?
It's silent. It says the mayor may remove any commission member for malfeasance, misfeasance, nonfeasance, or gross neglect of duty. But also it has a process for that person to have a public hearing.
So I think the mayor can just be like, no thanks, and then there's no
Says
hearing,
may.
right?
It doesn't say shall, it say may.
Says
Yeah.
may.
But we have to do our duty, because I think this is about us enforcing our consistency here.
So I think that us
Yeah.
doing our duty just means sending,
We have to send
hey, based on our rule, this commissioner is not in, what's the word?
in
Compliance
with
with
this
our
rule, yeah.
rules as per,
Do we want to write a template letter for this?
Over to me.
You're the template person.
I mean, what I would suggest,
Do you think
just,
this is clear enough saying that they must, that they have
They
to
must, yeah,
Like,
must
well,
initiate, yeah,
like it's
without delay, right? And
I think it just automatically,
I mean,
By writing.
that's what I'm saying, whatever needs to be
put a little bit more clearly, I think.
sure. Yeah, I mean,
The
I can
only-
write a little template. I mean, I think that it should just be the facts, like, this commissioner missed these meetings on these dates, therefore they're out of compliance with, section
1.7.
1.7.7. As such, this is being forwarded to you for your consideration for removal.
Well, I think it should just be chronic absenteeism and it's gross, and you need to use those words.
Sure, yeah, but I think it would just, I think the main contentious language is, we would say for your consideration for removal.
Right, I think this is us self-policing. We have to maintain first our integrity on this with ourselves. So we can refine this.
Okay.
So
So I'll write the little
if everybody can just
sample
provide
letter.
some.
Yeah. So I'll.
It must include elements of these, like
Yep.
at least these elements.
Yeah, but so I'll write a sample letter. I'll definitely include the thing about will automatically trigger, and then we can say co-chairs must submit
But
the
initiate
following
removal.
letter with the following template to the mayor notifying blah 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 blah.
And because we have to bring the statutory language, the gross neglect of duty, closer to this, you have to include that, right?
Say it again?
So this is statutory language. Well, this is legal language, gross neglect of duty. What we're saying is that if you meet any of these criteria, we deem automatically that this is a gross neglect of duty, and we are initiating the statutory process. So I think it has to be clear. It's okay, we can work on it.
We'll fix
Yeah. All right, so is that, I know, and this is a big topic, so let's take a breath about this, and if we can continue thinking about this. Mr. Van Leer?
Yeah, there's one thing that you and I discussed briefly is the idea of possibly working with a parliamentarian on our meeting, Robert's rules, and sort of making sure that we're, that everybody, we understand it, and that they can sort of, as a neutral party, help us manage our meetings better. So it's not like we have to make a decision, but it seems like that would be something that this committee could talk about and figure out, and whether it's a rule or not, or just a recommendation, I don't know. I mean, I know it's more complicated than let's do this, but like that, it might make sense for that conversation to start here.
Is that another topic?
It's something I found. I just wanted to know. That's all.
Is it?
It's related to the absence.
Okay, why don't we go
sorry.
here first and then we'll come back.
No, I was just gonna say that we did put in there that committee chairs can use these rules as a guideline. If attendance at a committee becomes an issue that hinders the work of the committee chair shall bring it to the attention of the co-chairs to develop a plan of action. So we did put that in there. And then the other thing I wanted to know, when we're going through and kind of reading through this on our own, the absences being excused or unexcused, like you said, doesn't really matter. So I think we need to kind of rethink how that's written in here as well. Because the way that it's written kind of makes it seem like
It's in many places.
yes. So we'll have to think about that also. So I just want to note that.
Agreed.
Thank you. All right, let's go back to Mr. Van Leer's parliament. So, I think, what are the issues, cost and, mainly, right, with people, it's possible we can have some volunteers that can rotate. Otherwise, if we have to hire somebody, I don't know the cost of it. I've gotten some names of people. Oh, Ryan, do you have a comment?
I
Sorry. Record.
So if you want help kind of going through parliamentary procedure, I haven't mentioned this before, but I used to be a parliamentarian.
Oh, you are.
With with the National Forensic League, and so I at least one point in my life spent a lot of time doing that.
So are you familiar with Robert's rules?
We used the National Forensic League rules, which were based off of Robert's rules. So I didn't, I don't know if I'm sort of an outside person enough or not for that, but I do know how to, I have not wanted, as a staff member, I've not wanted to like interject myself because there have been disagreements, and I don't, so I've not. But I'm pretty comfortable going through parliamentary procedure and stuff.
How about this? Would you teach like a mini workshop on the basic scenarios so we're all on the same page? And then
Yes.
do we want to find more people?
May I add a comment to the chair and the committee members? The Cleveland has an association of certified parliamentarians.
Oh.
And I've already contacted them for clarification on some of, our actions, but that may also be a place to start. That would be a neutral, place to start in case there's some feeling about one of the staff members being that parliamentarian. But I have it's an association. It's Cleveland Association of Parliamentarians. They're certified. It's Cleveland Association of Certified Parliamentarians. And I have reached out to them already. Yeah. I haven't heard back from them yet, but I have reached out through email.
So what do we want to do? Do you want to reach out again as the rules committee? If you want to give us that charge, co-chair, we can collaborate.
Sure.
And then we'll make maybe a phone call. You send an email?
It's an email. You can look it up and it'll give you the email address.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe
Where's
we
the
can share a
call?
snippet
Where's
of our
the-
video.
I think it's Cleveland
Are you the right person for this?
Association of Certified
Here's a sample.
Parliamentarians. I think that's what it is. Cleveland Association.
Do you want it also? Yeah, we can all collaborate on it.
I
And
can go back and find.
I do, yeah. And we might need more, if we're not willing to expend that much budgetary cost, we may want some volunteers or rotating, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Do you see it?
Do we know how much is in the budget?
It's Ohio Association of
There's an
Parliamentarians.
Ohio and there's a Cleveland's chapter as well.
Okay, so maybe it's part of that figure.
Yeah.
And I think we received some names of other people that could be parliamentarians. I think we just have to make sure that every meeting is covered.
I think it would be nice to not have, at least for the time being, us serving as the parliamentarian.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that there is kind of a lot of tension between commissioners. And so I could see, even if, it's somebody, following the parliamentary procedure in good faith, saying, hey, no, we need to do this, I could see it kind of increasing some of the tension. So I think it would be nice to have a neutral party kind of come in. And I think, and just kind of offer parliamentary points for us there, however we would say.
I do think we need like a little bit of a workshop,
Yeah.
so everyone gets to see. And I don't think there are complicated rules that we are maybe not aware of not fully realizing at this point. I think there's a few scenarios, and then do we need to make sure with budget what is there, and then we should start looking, because I would hate to look and promise somebody a small paid stipend for it and not be able to give it to them.
It would be under the professional services part of the budget, right?
So we need to find, you guys are on the budget committee, do we have we need to maybe get a budget, and then let's put out some feelers in all our networks.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I hesitate to say this because I got enough to do, but I happen to know the guy who's the head of the North Coast unit of the Ohio Association of Parliamentarians. So
Look at that.
Look at that.
there you go.
We'll give you one more thing to do. Contact him.
I have his email.
Okay.
See if I can figure that out.
Okay. So we would at least like a workshop, a little mini workshop would be nice, I think.
And maybe, I mean, one thing we could ask is just say, hey, would you be willing to come to 3 meetings? And, it could be something as senior parliamentarian, or it could be giving us feedback.
Right.
Um,
We'll be on best behavior and bad behavior in one, best behavior.
Yeah, we'll try.
We'll give you
We'll do different levels of,
We'll
we'll provide different levels of chaos.
Here's the barriers of our meetings, so, yeah, okay. I think there are probably people that are very emotionally centered, right? Is this a very emotionally, they have to be dispassionate people to be able to engage, but just,
To be really interested in
Yeah.
parliamentary procedure.
the laugh.
Sorry.
All right, so I think, then we're done, so we've agreed on a general action plan. So the last thing is we have so the evidentiary hearing process still needs to be written. Maybe to prepare for that, we can read the CPRB and OPS manuals on what they do, just to get an idea.
the new one yet?
I don't think so. This will probably be done like this writing with the accountability committee, because it's a work in progress. So we want to it's hard to write these things without knowing what these cases look like. So it's going to be a concurrent process.
Sorry,
Coach,
Coach Jan, do you know if the CPRB has finished their new manual?
No, it's not finished.
Okay. Yeah.
It's close to be, well, it's in review, outside of the board itself. And it was in review when
They came, right?
when he came in May. It was in review then. So the intent is that, or the hope is that it would be completed. We have asked him to come to the August meeting, and we are hoping that it would be completed by then.
do you know what sections are
No, I
under
don't.
racket? Okay.
I don't. The entire manual had been sent, and I don't know whether that review is being done by legal. I don't know who's reviewing it. But Administrator Perez stated that it was in review when he came, and he has been pushing to get it completed. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know what pieces and parts are in
I
or
think
out.
just so we're on the same page, we can read those even old ones. We can maybe Ryan can give us some processes from other cities that we can read. So we can gather some best practices, and then we'll just prepare for writing that. All right, so that's all we have today. We don't have any more public comments. We don't have members of the public, but we welcome you. So the next meeting, I did want to announce the accountability committee is meeting on Monday instead of Tuesday because I have to go. I have a consulate issue. So it will be Monday at 4. Monday the 7th at 4 is the right 7th at
August 7th.
Yeah, August 7th at 4. And we have the agenda, and we will put that on the agenda.
I think it would be nice to schedule our next rules committee meeting just because we do have a few items that we're following up on.
So how much time do you think? I'm not going to be here at all next week from Tuesday.
So the following
So
week, maybe the week of the 14th.
Let's look at our schedules in there.
I can get this done. I might even just put it out tonight, and then maybe what I'll also do is put this in a document with the other, parts of the policy.
Yeah, we should just put in one document.
Yeah,
I'll
one
look at
document.
it and read it.
Yeah, and I'll make the changes that we discussed, and then I'll put the other parts of the policy that address either tardies or absences in the document, and I might make a few suggestions of changes and then share the
And
document.
we
with
can all,
everybody.
yeah. And why don't we separately, so we don't do business separately, come up with our feedback and
Yeah.
bring it back into committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So these,
just clarification.
Mhm.
So Monday, August 7th, you said at 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
That's not your regular meeting.
No,
That's just,
We're moving it, and it's actually good because outreach or training wants to take our spot on Tuesday.
but that's just that
Just for just
one
that day.
time.
One time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. And we have double meetings that day. We'll be like, we have to be done and out because what is the next committee that's in? Outreach is in
Okay.
at 6.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So everybody, 4 is okay. Should we, I don't know, Mr. Van Leer, when he can, so we usually meet on a Tuesday, right? So we can take that Tuesday back on
15th.
the 15th. I mean, we're gonna have to have this accountability one too, so let's take a day. Is 15th okay? I don't know what it is.
Fine with me.
Okay. Mr. Van Leer? Okay. Mr. Van Leer, is the 15th Tuesday okay with you? Still. Sandra. We're just planning the meeting for the next rules committee. I'm gone next week, but the 15th, the week of the 15th is Tuesday the 15th open for you?
I am out of town that week.
That whole week?
Yep.
Okay.
Yay.
Do we want, but his portion is, is there a day that you can call in?
Nope.
No.
Well, the commission meeting is that on the 23rd?
When's our meeting, 23rd?
That's what I'm wondering. Because it's the fourth Wednesday, right?
I mean, it's okay, we have 2 rules that we've passed,
Yeah.
you know, so we could just do the week of the 21st, and then next week we'd have another accountability probably.
Sure.
Meeting, okay. All right, so Mr. Van Leer, 21st, week of 21st?
The
Wednesday. we have
21st? You mean
21st?
Tuesday?
21st or 22nd?
I do the 21st, I cannot do the
There's an
22nd.
outreach meeting at 6 PM on the 21st.
Do we want to meet at 4? 21st? Can we?
Instead of the 22nd? Is there a
He
conflict?
can't.
Oh, you can't on the 22nd? Oh, okay.
I know it's.
Well, I guess there's no rush.
Yeah.
I mean, what if we do it the 20?
Or the 24th.
29th. Oh, 25th is a Friday.
Or on Thursday we
I'm
can do it.
available on the 21st at 4. I mean,
You
The Friday?
Thursday at 4? Okay, let's
the
do that.
21st, that's on my day.
21st.
Oh, the 21st at
The only
4?
thing is that
That's
the
fine with
members of the public may not be able to come in. That's the only consideration. Do we have anything that's
Are
really?
you okay with having 4 hours of meetings
There's
back to
members of
back?
the public.
How many times do I want to have for?
Yeah, that's the only, that's what I was thinking.
I don't know.
Okay, so what about the,
That's a lot of meetings.
just only pay attention to one meeting. No, 24th, is there a Built Hospitality Thursday?
I'm
The
good.
24th is fine for me.
What time?
6?
Mhm.
Do you have your thing?
I have
Oh,
something at 5.
Oh, would it be at 4? I
Then we can
have,
make it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if it's at,
no, I can't do 4. I have a meeting in Lorraine that will go until
let's just
3.
do the 21st at 4. I'll plug it out.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, I can.
I feel like there's so many days in August. I'm sure we can.
Like, well, I'll bring you something like coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we
And we'll
can.
have we can have a fast meeting. We're half an hour early.
Yeah.
Don't
So-
do that yet.
Oh, any public comments?
Wait, what did we decide?
21st at 4 p.m.
Okay, are you sure?
August 21st at 4 p.m. Okay.
I forgot I'm out of town.
Oh, no.
So I'm so sorry. I'm out of town the 21st and the 22nd.
Okay, so then we should probably.
What about the 29th?
Sure.
I can do that.
Why? do I
Tuesdays
feel
don't, sorry, y'all, it's soccer season. Tuesdays don't work for me. For the
Monday
next
then?
couple months.
We can.
I can do the 28th.
You can
We're
also
planning to try to have everyone here, right?
Yeah.
But everyone doesn't have.
Right.
to.
No.
I know.
Y'all
So
can
we
leave
can
it up.
plan for 4.
Oh, we have 4.
It's true, but it's a pretty important rule, I guess. So I think we want,
Yeah.
unless. So what would we? 29? Or sorry,
I can do
28.
I could be here by 4:30
When?
on the 28th.
We don't have to be early on the 28th. There's nothing.
Oh, we
is there-
can? Oh, okay, great.
Is there another outreach on the 28th? No.
No, sorry, I think
Because
I was
it's
just getting
It's
my,
every other Monday.
Oh, we can be early if we want to. There's no reason to be at 6.
Well, it's just so
I
yeah.
understand.
I can't, yeah, I could do I could do as early as 5 on the 28th.
It's 5, okay, or do you want to do 6? So, I mean, for the sake of the public.
By the time I get here, it will be public comment time.
Wait, so what time are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, we could do 5. We could do whatever.
Let's keep it at 6 in case another committee wants to be at 4. I mean,
Okay.
we're double stacking them at this point.
Thanks, guys.
I know, because I think there's only so many days in a week, apparently.
So Monday the 28th from 6 to 8.
We're gonna have to open up Fridays.
No.
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 All right,
That's
so
our holy day.
Monday, our holy day. So Monday, the 28th at 6 PM. And we have 2 rules that have already been, that we are pushing forward. And hopefully we'll have some other updates from those 2 issues. Please have everything, our feedbacks in, and talk to each other before then so we can pass those. And yeah, that's my only concern, is that if we have it later, I'm gonna be leaving at some point, and then we can't have another rules meeting if there's problems with other, yeah. All right, well, we'll just plan for that. All right, well, thank you so much. We are ending early. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all your contributions.
Thank you, everybody. What a treat to have 30 extra minutes.
I feel like we got a lot accomplished too.
We really did.